All right. Welcome to another game on the True Mouse Games gaming channel. And I'm, of course, Alex, and I have the honor once again of being your dungeon master for the evening. And this is a Revenant Tides of Vengeance, our mini campaign of about 4 to 5 sessions that we will be running all across June. Starting today, of course, with the first episode, The Betrayal. And this is a bit unusual for D&D. Firstly, because this episode will be more heavily narrative than rolling dice, which is not usually something that we do in D&D. But for all of you guys who want to see action and dice rolling and stuff like that, bear with us. We'll get there. It's just this first episode to set the tone and all that sort of stuff. But you will see what I mean soon enough. Secondly, of course, the player characters are playing Revenants, which are, for those of you who don't know, undead beings bent on revenge, spirits that have returned to their own bodies, basically to find and track down and kill whoever murdered them. We have 3 players, and it is my pleasure to welcome CJ, to welcome Richard, and to welcome Justin to the game. You'll see more of them tonight and over the course of the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. We will start in darkness, a black realm, shades of dark, blue, and black, and a sinister, poisonous green. Fallen trees, unmoving, pieces of ruins, crumbled and randomly thrown together, nearly as if they were just pieces of buildings that came from other places, found themselves in a proximity that they did not share when they were still intact. And the cold wind howls around you as you open your eyes and look and see. There is something weird here. It's not just the cold, it's not just the darkness, not just the whispering voices that you can hear coming from seemingly very far away. It is also a strange numbness within yourselves. You look around, there is nothing moving. And then it hits you. You do not know. You do not know anything. There is no memory. The darkness without is matched by the darkness within. Frantically, you search for something, some piece of information, some picture of life. But the only thing that comes is your own name. Torak, Titan Shield, Christer, and Ishmael. That is all you know. And all that you can see, all that seems living around you are the 2 shapes close to you, which are, of course, the other 2 characters. Tell me, what do you wish to do?
Ishmael, looking around, he sees the fragmented buildings constructing the shapes of themselves around him, and he can't help but feel like a fragmented person, not being able to recall his last memory. And he looks to Torak and Christer, and he just has a blank look in his eyes. And he goes to talk, and he feels the bones in his face are misaligned, and it catches him, and his hands go to his face, and he just stops before speaking. What's happened? Torak, Christer. I have no memory of the past, or how we got here.
Who are you?
Ishmael.
And you see Christer looks almost like he's underwater. His hair is almost like floating. And when he speaks, you hear this almost gurgling noise of and droplets falling all around him without any pause. And he will try and stand up and look around. What does he see?
You can see to your left the remains of a fallen tower. To your right, something what looks like an iron fence, mostly rusted and half crumbled away. Ahead of you is it seems to be a small square, a piece free of ruin. And you can just barely make out in the shadows that surround you some sort of statue that seems to be standing in the middle of the square.
Torax stands up and he looks around and he observes these fragmented building pieces and he's just like, this isn't right. This place isn't right. None of this makes sense. What's going on? And he just looks very confused and very worried.
And it seems that even there's cries of children in the air. What's going on? This is not normal. And Christer will make way towards the statue and try and make out what it might be of, and if he recognizes it somehow.
As you step forward, you look up to the statue, and it is a woman, a tall, slightly hunched over figure of an old woman. And you look up, and you recognize the face. Grandmother. She looks down on you with a stern look of disapproval. Unmoving. And you catch a flash of her voice in his head, saying, I will wait for you on the other side. And there is a small remnant of memory flashing through your head. And it remains in there. You remember your grandmother, Elizabeth.
You see, for those looking at him, you see Christer almost shocked and confused. And grandmother, what's happening? What side do you mean? He's trying to communicate with this thought or with this entity.
You talk, but the statue does not reply. There is no movement. It is a statue. In fact, as you look up at it, you can see a small tear in the stone going up one of her arms, and the arm falls and shatters into 100 pieces of stone on the ground to your left on the cobblestones.
Christer would recoil from that sight, visibly shaken, and it's at that point is like looking around, anticipating something. He doesn't know what, but he feels like he's being watched or something's playing with him again.
While Christer is looking around, Ishmael, you hear footsteps behind you. You look over your shoulder, and you can see two shapes coming out of the darkness, both young men. One of them stumbles slightly, but rights himself again, and as they step towards you, you realize these are not men. They are just silhouettes, shadows with faces, but nonetheless, you recognize those faces. Kobe and Reginald. Your supposed brothers-in-law. They look at you, and you can hear a voice in your head. Where is she? Why? Why couldn't you protect her? We cannot find her. And then both of them disperse in 1,000 pieces of shadow as the wind gushes through them.
And this would set Ishmael back in his own step, back on his heels, and he would catch himself and turn back to Christer, as who is surveying the area after his approach of the statue.
And you, as you turn around and look at Chris there, you also have a flash of memory, and you remember your betrothed, Mala Applewood, of a rich farming family, a woman you were supposed to marry soon, and her brothers that were supposed to escort her to you. But looking around, you don't know where they were supposed to escort her, or where. You don't know. You just see her face flashing in your mind for a second. Long blonde hair tied into two into like a bun at the back of her head, and then she's also gone. But there is something, some memory lingers behind inside of you.
As these memories return to Ishmael, they return a feeling that he thought he might have lost forever, and he can feel it radiating through his what he would call his being, and he can feel it running along all the different broken bones in his body, and re-identifying himself, and his hands follow as he feels this all along his body. But he remains silent, collecting himself and thinking about Mala.
Torak, you stand there looking from one companion to the other, both seemingly lost in thought. You hear a voice behind you. Daddy? Father? You look around. You can see on top of that rusty iron fence there is a figure crouched. A small dwarven child, a boy, maybe 10 years, with short blackish hair. There's something wrong with him though. It's like he's covered in a layer of soot or ash as he looks down upon you. And he says, I don't know where I am. I feel so warm. Maybe I'm sick. Where's Levi? I can't find Levi. And you also, while you're looking up at this child, you can see flashes of your bastard sons, what the two that you have been raising, Levi and Alexei. And you realize this must be Alexei.
Alexei, it's okay. You're gonna be okay. And I would look around and I don't know what's going on.
The child reaches towards you, but before he can reach you, he seems to trip and falls off the fence, falls down to the ground, and now there's just a small heap of ash where the child was once was.
And Alexei would drop down to his knees, and you would see him just overwhelmed with grief. He doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know what's happening, and he just kind of absentmindedly puts his hand up to his chest, like a symbol of kind of clutching your heart, and he looks down and he sees that he can almost put his hand right into his chest as a large gaping hole where his on the left side, where his heart and lung would have been. And you can see them in there, just kind of half rotten and exposed, the bone of his ribs.
While you're looking down, you can see a shadow moving across the ground, a large shadow. You realize the shadow is not moving across the ground, it is above you. You look up and you can see a massive shape, some sort of giant winged creature just passing by overhead, covered by the black mist that blots out any type of light this weird place might have. And you could just hear and then as the creature seems to land atop of that fallen tower. A few small rocks come skittering down, hitting the ground amongst you. And you can now see a tall black shape obscured by the mist and the darkness looking down upon you. Two wide wings curling in and sort of folding around the figure as it was wearing a large long coat or a mantle of some kind. And just stares down at you silently.
Krister is somewhat interested in the shape. It looks unnatural but also familiar somehow, and he looks at it crookedly and goes, "Are you the Harlequin? Are you the trickster that has been eluding me my entire life?"
No, child. But I have spoken to him. He is not of this realm. Yet, a small piece of him is here. It has come with you. And as this voice says that, you catch, Krister, you catch movement out of the corner of your eye. You look to the left, and you can see on the base of the tower in the stone shifts, and for a second you can see a masked face, the wide, grinning mouth, looking back at you, and then the face gives you a wink and disappears again, and there's just stone. Yes, you are lost, wandering through this realm.
What realm are we in? Where are we? Why are we here?
You died.
I look to both Ishmael and Torak, and is this guy kidding? Like, I don't remember dying. Do you?
You do not remember? Well, let no one say Baradun was not ready at hand with gifts for the poor souls that stumble into his domain. And both wings open, and a gust of wind hits you, pushes you back a few feet. And with this gust of wind comes a smell, a very strong smell, a very familiar smell that seems completely out of place here. It is the smell of fresh grass, the smell of trees in spring. And then voices and colors explode in your head, and you're falling and swallowed up by the colors. And you see images. You see yourselves. You see your friends and comrades in arms, the mercenary company of the Sun Blades. You see a dark-skinned face with long black hair, a finely trimmed mustache, a small goatee, wearing silvered leather armor, and a name flashes in your mind, Captain Scipio Centara, your mercenary captain in fact. You see battles. You remember battles on the eastern border, battles against wild orc tribes, battles against nomadic human warriors threatening the kingdom. You remember the king's missive, King Valdemar calling Captain Centara to the capital. You remember hearing the news. Captain Centara no longer. Count Scipio Centara of Old Hill, by the king's decree, for services well rendered. The disbanding of the company In autumn, chests of gold given to you by young king. You remember, the three of you, the mansion that you bought for yourselves, your family and your servants, the mansion on the hill just outside of the village of Moonfield, the apple trees in full bloom of spring, the pond so close by to the house, with the frogs croaking at night from it, the smell of grass, the few horses and mules in the stables, in the wooden barn. And you find yourselves there, and you're waiting. You're standing there and waiting. And you're waiting for Mala Applewood. You're waiting for Ishmael's betrothed. It is a spring afternoon, sunny, with a little bit of wind, a few white clouds in the blue sky, like a flock of sheep grazing on a blue pasture, and peace. And all that, all the blackness, all that dark realm, and this weird winged being is gone from your mind. And you are alive again. And you breathe in deeply. And for a second you shudder, but you don't know why. It is a beautiful afternoon. It is spring. You're waiting for something that is supposed to be a joyous occasion. Your families are close, and you have earned your retirement. Many, many years of happiness, a simple life. Some would call it boring, but after the bloodshed you've gone through, after the war, it is what you wanted. And you can see in the distance a column appearing. A small cart pulled by a horse, and surrounding the cart is a group of soldiers, armed men and women, about 20 strong. And you're surprised, for only the brothers of Mala were supposed to escort her. But this is much larger than just two men. This is a large escort befitting a noble. And then you realize, as you see the grey and the black uniform with the black tower of Old Hill on them, you see your old captain has come to visit you. And you can see Captain Scipio in a black and gold robe, beautifully wrought, with a wide cloak, a rapier on his hip, on a massive black horse, smiling down on you, as he gives a nod to Ishmael. You will forgive the surprise, I am certain, my friend. But I missed you at my ceremony last month. I was wondering what kept you here. But now, having seen your bride, I wonder no longer. We happened to meet them on the road, and, we decided to escort her to you, to make sure that nothing happens to such a beautiful maiden. And he points back towards the now slightly blushing young woman.
Oh, you are too kind to do so, but I thank you for protecting her from the spoils of the road that may have befell her without such an escort. You're welcome to attend the ceremonies in the coming days.
I would be overjoyed. I am not quite certain if I can make it. My new responsibilities as Count, well, they do not leave me much free time. You, of course, remember my companions, yes? And he points to two men now stepping out, flanking him. One of them is an extremely tall, muscular, wide-shouldered half-orc with two protruding tusks, black long hair, and several scars running over his face. And you do recognize him. You would not call him a friend, but he has fought on your side quite a few times. This, of course, is Korga, one of the lieutenants of the Sunblades, whom men call Blood Fists. And the other one, a tall, thin half-elf with long, reddish hair, a small goatee, dressed as always in a wide robe of crimson color, is Fendriel, one of the sorcerers of the company, whom men call Fendriel the Red. And he gives you a bow and says, "Yes, I would of course like to give my congratulations as well."
And
Korga just nods.
And anybody seeing Ishmael's face would almost certainly plainly see that it's sort of set into him that it might be a little too martial, their intent to be here, but he almost regretting having offered giving them the welcome, he'll just say, "Well, I'm sure there's room can be made for more guests." And he
Of
bows.
course. The Count looks down on you. Of course. We will make room. He looks back. He gives you a single smile, raises an eyebrow, and then nods towards his men. And there is a flash, screams, and pain. And you double over, and you smell smoke. And all of a sudden you are held down by soldiers, and you can see your servants running. You can see soldiers running after them. You can see the gardener, Joseph, trying to swing a shovel, but he's punched down, grappled. You can see the maid, Kari, screaming, running away, but she's caught. You can see Corby and Reginald, your Mala's brothers, jumping up, grabbing weapons, but they are overwhelmed within seconds. These are not trained soldiers, not like the men and women who are facing them. And you feel pain as the men and women, some of them you've fought with, some of them whose life you've saved, some of them who saved your life, grab you and push you down onto the ground. And Korga steps in, delivering brutal punches into your faces, into your bodies. And you, without weapons, without armor, unprepared for this, you fall. And there is colors and screams. And you can see Elizabeth, Christier, your grandmother, being pulled out of the house, defiant, not struggling, but looking around, unafraid. And you can see one of the men saying, "I don't like the look of this one. She might be some sort of witch." And another one, a one-eyed man who's only known as One Eye, one of the best fighters of the company, stepping in and saying, "Well, we sure know. We'll take care of her soon enough." And then Fendriel moving forward with a look of glee on his face as one man is carrying a nearly unconscious Alexei over his shoulder and dumping him onto the ground in front of the half-elf. And he looks around with a sneer and an old smile and says, looking over to the Count Santara, "How do you wish to take care of this?" The Count, still remaining on his horse, not moving, looking around calmly, gives a gesture of his hand, says, "I do not care, but do it quickly. There can be no witnesses to this. Do it however you want, but we do not have time for you to indulge in your little appetites, Fendriel. Do you understand me, eh?" The half-elf crouches down. Of course, Count." But the look that he gives Santara is full pure venom. And he turns around and says, "Bring them! Bring them all to the..." He looks around and his gaze falls on the stables. "Bring them all to the stables. Close them in." And you can see Mala being dragged, Elizabeth being dragged, Alexei being carried, several of your servants being pushed. They're looking at you wide-eyed, but you're held by 3, 4 men and women, strong people. And you can only watch as your families and friends and servants are pushed into the barn. Elizabeth, the old woman, is the last one outside. And she says, looking at the soldiers, "Get on with it, will you? Cowards, small men, small minds, and small fears." One Eye steps in and punches her in the face. Boom! Several teeth fly. Blood sputters to the ground. The old woman gets up. She looks at One Eye, and she says, quite calmly, even though the blood's dripping from her mouth, "I will await you on the other side." One Eye growls and pushes her into the stables. The doors are closed, and the windows are closed, and you can see wood is being brought to bar them up. And within minutes, there is no escape. Hendriel, the half-elf, looks down to you. "Well, it looks like time has come to settle our accords. With the grace of his grace, I have been waiting for this for a long, long time." And he looks especially at Christer as he says that, with a grin, a wide sadistic grin on his face. You can speak if you wish. You're not. If your mouth is free.
Torak would just be screaming, "Alexei! It's gonna be okay!"
Ishmael would, I think, still be collecting his collecting his wits from being punch drunk and beaten so badly. But yeah, he would also be raging against his restraints and just shouting epitaphs of hate.
"Ah, yes. Nothing to say? We've nothing to say to your old grandmother, Christer?"
You see him visibly chewing his cheeks as he refuses to acknowledge him in any way, because he's seen this before. He knows what's going to happen, and he knows there's nothing he can do about it now.
"Well, then." And Vendriel steps in and pats Christer's cheek, one hand, as the people, like two men on both sides, are holding you down. "Let us get on with it. As His Eminence said, we want to make this quick. So let us make this quick." And he turns around, he raises his hands, and you can see two balls of flame going up in his hands, surrounding his fists. And he looks back to you with a wide grin, steps forward, and flings both flames at the stables. One of them explodes through a window, hits the hay inside, and it goes up immediately. Second one hits the roof, which starts smoldering. The half-elf laughs as the fire, it reappears in his hands, looks back at you, and you can see madness, and you can see the reflecting fire in his eyes as he flings it again and again and again until the stables are burning and burning and burning, and you can hear the horses screaming, you can hear someone pounding at the door, you can hear voices raised, first in shouts, then in screams. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" And then nothing. And then just this putrid stench of burned flesh, of burnt hair. And a single horse comes galloping out, burning, breaking through the door, but it only managed to get about 10 to 15 feet before it collapses, twitches, and lies still. One of the soldiers, One Eye, steps forward and says, "Count, the villagers will see the flames. We should not be caught here." "Yes, yes, I agree. It would do us no good to be found on the scene. No, no, let us be away. Korga, take care of them. Do it quickly." The half-orc turns towards you, he looks at you and he shrugs and he says, "Sorry, friends, but you've heard the commands. I guess as the old woman said, I'll see you on the other side, eh?" And he raises his massive maul, takes a step forward, and he smashes it into Ishmael's ribs. And you can just feel sharp pain as your ribs just break, and something pierces your lungs. And then you stumble. Korga grabs you by the hair, pulls you up, smashes his maul into your face and into your chest 2, 3, 4 times. Explosion of red and pain, and then nothing. Korga drops Krister, drops his maul, rips out One Eye's longsword, steps up to Torak, grabs him by the throat, holds him there, looks into his eyes and says, "The least I can do is send you to your boys. Ha, fucking dwarf." And he just shoves the longsword into your chest and then rips it out, cutting downwards. You can feel it ripping through you, coming out the back, then ripping back out. Blood comes out. You look down and you can see pieces of your own heart, and the heart just spurts blood and then stops. The pain, mercifully, is short, but you are gone. Then another flash. Krister, you're running. The 2 guards holding you, screaming, holding their eyes as they tremble with imagined terrors, both falling to their feet. And you're running towards the back of the house, trying to get away. Men behind you. You run past the pond, trying to run after it, around it, but then a crossbow bolt hits you in the back. You stumble onwards. No mortal wound, luckily, but then a massive hand, a very strong one, grabs you by the neck. You're turned around. You look at the face of Korga, the half-orc. He looks at you. You raise a hand, trying to reach out to your patron, the Harlot King, trying to use some sort of magic, but Korga gives you a headbutt. Your nose breaks. Pain fills your eyes, fills your mind. And Korga says, "None of that now." And then he takes a step to the side and plunges you underwater. With full strength, the water of the pond is cold. And he's holding you, not just your face, nearly all your body. You shake. You try something to try to fight, but he's much stronger. He's on top of you. You can feel his knees pressuring you, holding you down in the mud and the water. You can feel his massive hand encircling your neck. You can't breathe. You can't breathe. And then you have to breathe. And water rushes in, air rushes out, and life rushes out as well, following the stream of air. And darkness takes you. And you can feel, the last thing you can't feel is Korga's large, strong fingers releasing you as you drift away. And then you're back in this shadowy realm, staring up, altering your knees, staring up at the tower, the large winged creature perching on top of it, looking down on you. Now you remember.
Torak would look up at the creature tears in his eyes. How could you make me live through that again?
I had to, or you would have wandered, lost, without memories, through this realm forever. That is not your destiny, Torak Titan Shield. It is none of your destiny. He looks over at Ishmael and Kristen. Has my gift brought you clarity?
You see, Christer looks up at him and goes, the only thing I want them to feel is fear for all eternity. And you see he's almost glazing over. There's this look of desperation in his eyes as he tries to comprehend the fact that he just witnessed the death of his entire family and then extended friends. And the fear he felt while drowning, hopeless and helpless, nothing he could do. They will feel this 1,000-fold before they meet their end.
Yes. And what say you, Ishmael?
They've killed my family and my betrothed. If this new form and new passage gives me a chance to fulfill vengeance, I am quite grateful.
Vengeance. Vengeance is a thing I know quite a bit about. Well then, let me offer you a bargain. A contract. I am Veradun, and I am the contractor of souls. So it is destiny that has brought you here. Destiny that has brought us together. Do you wish to take it into your own hands? Do you wish? Revenge!
I do. I would take that step.
There are not enough fears in the world that will prepare them for the terror I will unleash on their minds.
Yes.
I will rip his heart out.
Yes.
Tear him to pieces.
Korga, blood fist. And you can see now all of a sudden the half-orc, a visage shimmering and half visible, stands in front of you, looking at you. Fendriel the Red, Fendriel the Burner. Red flames flicker from a nearby ruin, and the half-elf stands there with his mad eyes reflecting the flames and his wide grin. And of course, Scipio Santara, Count of Old Hill. And you can see up high in a window of the tower the face of your leader, of your captain, Scipio, looking down on you, merciless, as if you were just insects to be squashed. And then all three disappear. I can give you a chance to make things right. A chance for vengeance. The creature reaches out, one arm. One impossibly long arm reaching through the shadows, down from the tower. And a black fist appears in front of you, a fist that turns and opens. And 3 balls of spectral shimmering light escape it. One whitish silver, the other a pale blue, and the last one a brownish orange, like mud mixed with blood. This is my offer to you, an offer that the Harlequin deems interesting. Take this, my offer. Return to the world of the living. Find them. Raise the tides of vengeance. Avenge your betrayal. Show them justice. Show them the justice of the netherworld. Show them the justice of Barad-dûr. Slay and hunt and slay and send me the souls of those you kill. A fair bargain, is it not? What say you?
Krister walks over and
the blue sphere drifts towards you, now hovering right in front of you in the air, and you can feel an aura of cold coming from this.
fear will grip their minds and their hearts as frost will cover the lands in winter. And he picks up the gem and puts it against his body, and you see this orb, blue, pulsing blue, and almost dissolving into him when he does that. And at that point, you see where at his feet you see frost spreading, and this water freezes over, and frost crystals form all along his clothing and his eyes. And you see both his eyes turn completely pale blue, completely taken in by fear and cold.
Thus, the pact is sealed.
And
he looks over.
Ishmael will step forward, welcoming these glowing gifts, and he'll say, through gritted teeth almost, "For you, Baradun, in this deal, I would take part in scattering these 3 souls to the wind for you to collect."
Yes. The silverish white sphere flies towards you, stops right in front of your face, and whoosh, wind hits you. And it is for a second as if you were in the center of a small tornado. You are lifted up, maybe a foot and a half, and then fall back down. Take it. It is yours.
Torak.
And as Ishmael reaches out, grabs the sphere, it enters your hand, and your clothing and the remnants of some sort of shroud you're wearing just flap as in an invisible wind. Yes, thus the pact is sealed. And then the shadowy face turns towards Torak. beneath you.
Torak is looking at this figure, and he just says, "The land itself will turn red with the blood that I will spill, killing these men and any who try to stop me. I will not rest. I will not stop until I have torn their bodies apart and scattered them."
Make the earth tremble beneath their very feet. Take it! And Torek reaches out and grabs the reddish-brown orb, and as he does, the ground cracks underneath you, and you nearly fall as the small, like the ground just goes inward, pushing inward, as if your weight had all of a sudden increased by a tenfold as this spear enters your body. You can feel rage, hotter than any rage you have felt while still alive. So hot that steam actually starts rising from you, and the earth shatters and cracks. The fence next to you falls. Yes, thus the pact is sealed. Go forth now, return, and show them fear, show them pain, show them justice. The wings stretch out and grow and curl around you like a black blanket. And the ruins around you disappear. And for a little bit, there is nothing. You feel light, floating, drifting like a leaf in the wind, without direction, here and there, jumping up and down, left and right, forward and back. And then weight settles around you, as if someone had thrown a big boulder onto your chests. And you open your eyes. And you can see, despite darkness around you, you can see a layer of black wood right above you, in front of your faces. And you can smell the stench of decay. You can smell wet ground, musty smell of ground and earth, wet grass. And all these smells, they seem strangely familiar to you. Not unpleasant at all. You feel cold and you feel heavy. And as you try to draw breath, there is nothing. What do you do?
Ishmael he'll, noticing he's not drawing breath, it'll be a little weird for him, and he's going to spend a moment actually trying to just manually breathe, but to no avail. And
you can draw breath in, but there is no movement in your lungs. It's just the breath just passes through without anything.
The odd feeling, I guess, would send his hands feeling over his body, and I'm sure it's not quite as it used to be. It's now in a new form. And
yes, the flesh is cold, and here and there the bones feel like they are still broken underneath, but you can move your hands. You cannot move much. You seem to be into some sort of wooden box, lying in there on your back, and then you realize, all of you realize, you're in coffins. Someone has buried you.
Upon the realization that he's buried alive-ish, You see, or the others might notice that all of a sudden you feel the earth tremble as Krister releases large amounts of eldritch energy just from his fingertips all around him in almost in a fit of rage. And you see, while he's in the chest, there's beams of eldritch energy coming out of his fingertips and out of his eyes and his mouth and everywhere, just in a complete, utter explosion of rage.
The coffin around you cracks, starts to shatter, and then an eldritch blast hits through, bursts, wooden splinters pepper you, but you don't feel any pain, even though some of them stick in your face. And then you reach out and you feel wet ground, and you shoot out another blast, and the earth just sprays outward and sprays outward, and then you raise yourself up, and one hand reaches through to the surface. You grab hold on both sides and you lift yourself up, muddy and wet, dressed in only a funeral shroud that was once white by the looks of it, but is now brown and stained and half rotten as you pull yourself out. That goes for Chris there, anyway.
As Ishmael is lying in his coffin, is it likely that they're sort of in the same plot? Like, would I have maybe felt the tremors of these
You
blasts?
definitely have. To your left, you have felt tremors in the ground.
So the first sort of tremor or shockwave would spring Ishmael into action, and he would strike out with his fist at the feeble, probably soggy coffin, and hopefully he's trying to wrench a plank free, and he'll just crush that out, break it out, and try and shove it down to his feet, and just begin the process of trying to claw his way through any dirt that might have been piled over his grave.
You rip open the skin and the flesh of your fingers. The naked bones shimmer through, but you hardly mention it. It is no pain, nothing. And you tear and break and use bits and pieces of the coffin to dig through the earth. And then you too, a bit slower and not quite as aggressively, manage to reach up, grab what feels like some sort of rocky edge, something made of stone. You grab hold of that, and using that as leverage, you lift yourself up, grab up with a second hand, and lift yourself up. This cold night air hits you, and you emerge. Moonlight streaking down from above. And Torak.
Torak would open his eyes and not really know what exactly is happening, but he knows he's trapped, and he hates it, and he just hates it so much, and this overwhelming rage begins to come out of him and manifest, and he just starts to thrash around, and the other two would just begin to feel the earth almost shake with every strike as he begins to hit again and again and again against this coffin, this wooden, absolutely flimsy piece of garbage that he's trapped in.
It breaks apart under your hands.
Shatter, and he pushes his way up, and dirt begins to just fly up out of the way as he comes out. And as he starts to come out, you see a fist come up out of the ground, and there's almost small little green tendrils of necromantic energy around him, and where they form, they almost spikes start to grow out of his skin, and he starts to claw his way out, pushing the dirt around.
As you pull yourself up, you can feel the ground around you, the very, very earth you were buried in, shift. And all of a sudden, it is like as if the earth itself is holding in a vice-like grip. And then the earth attaches itself from the ground around you and starts flowing like mud over your skin. And where it flows leaves behind this nearly chitinous shell. And as you make a fist, jagged shards pierce and come out of your flesh on your whole body. And while this is happening, and you all both look at Torak, because all three of you are out now, Ishmael, you feel a gust of wind hitting you, and out of nowhere comes this cloud of smoke streaking out of darkness, surrounding you, nearly in an embrace, and then manifesting itself, streaking into your body, and turning the color of your burial shroud, the pristine white color, into pitch black. And now you are all of a sudden wrapped into this leathery type of smoke that rests upon your body, and you can feel like it has created a protective barrier around you. And as Christer is looking at the two of his companions, he sees a glimmer of silver in the air. He looks up at the moon, and he sees something small and silver shrieking through the night air, coming towards him. You step back and reflexively catch it. And as you look down, what you just caught, you can feel silver in your hand. And you can see an amulet, intricate design, thorns and flowers intertwined. And you recognize this amulet as the one Elizabeth, your grandmother, always wore. You have no idea where it came from, but it feels right to have it.
Does it look scarred and burned? Or is it pristine as I remember?
In fact, it looks burned. It does not look scarred as such. The metal has not melted, but there is blackness on it, as it was held over a candle flame. And while you're looking around, you realize you're standing in a graveyard that is not familiar to you. In fact, you're standing in front of a rather large statue with a standing on stone. That stone was the one that Ishmael used to pull himself up. That statue is showing as a warrior with a shield and a sword, and behind him, cowering like two small figures that look like human figures, farmers or something, as if seeking protection in the warrior's shadow. And you can see on the stone underneath the statue are your names: Torek Titanshield, Christer, Ishmael, carved into the stone. And underneath, with large letters, it says, "Heroes, fallen but not forgotten." And underneath there, you can see is the symbol of a tower, the symbol of Old Hill. You're not quite sure where you are, for this is no graveyard you know. It is not massive, but it holds 2 or 3 small mausoleums and maybe a couple hundred graves. Simple ones. Yours was one of the more elaborate ones. And now three holes are in the ground, shattered pieces of wood everywhere. And as you're still looking around, you can see a light, the light of a lantern, in fact, coming towards you. And 3 humanoid figures, one of them holding the lantern high, the other 2 coming in behind him, moving into your direction.
How do you think these gentlemen will react to the dead pulling themselves from their own slumber? Looking to his 2 newly risen companions.
It seems that it is already time to reintroduce fear into the world. And you see Christer lifting himself up out of the grave, and disguising himself as his grandmother, and putting his medallion on. And at that point, you both are surprised by the speed in which and easiness of the method, and you're like, what's going on here? And arcane energies are still surging around him. And at that point, when the people approach closer, you see him kneeling down and start crying at the graves. And
All right.
before they arrive out of the mist, you see him putting his hand up, and while he uses prestidigitation to make it look like the graves have not been touched.
And as they're approaching,
the graves are completely destroyed. Prestidigitation has no chance of covering that up. There's 3 large holes and pieces of wood everywhere.
Before the lantern or the light gets too close, Ishmael will dart off behind a stone or a tree, or he'll try to get about.
The closest one is the statue is the closest. You can.
Yeah, he might behind. Just take post up behind there for now.
All right. Give me a stealth check. First roll of the campaign. Woo.
And
That's Tom, probably like 28 or something.
yeah, I got expertise.
Yeah, you're just gone. Like a shadow, you slide behind the statue and you're gone. Okay.
And in order to help him, you see while the guards approach, I don't know how many lanterns are they holding?
Just one.
It starts to flicker, and when they inspect it, you see it's snuffed out.
What do you use for that?
Control flames.
Oh, nice. All right. So what does Torak do as these 3 men or whatever they are approach?
Torak is gonna jump behind the one of the gravestones nearby.
All right. So give me a stealth check as well, with advantage because darkness now. Okay, the advantage doesn't do anything.
No, it's the same thing.
But still, a 16, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, now the
Bloody
3 men stop, and you can now see, because you have dark vision, they don't. You can now see 2 men dressed in leather armor, carrying crossbows, and the man holding the lantern aloft is an older man dressed in some sort of like very old-looking armor, mostly rusty and looks like it hasn't seen use in ages. It's a chain shirt, basically. And the old man is wearing some sort of silver symbol around his neck. The one with the lantern. He looks at the lantern and then looks around. And they approach and they stop as they are about maybe 15 feet away from Christer, who's now an old woman kneeling at the grave. And you can hear them all drawing the breath in as they see the shapes of the destroyed graves. They can't make out any details, but there's enough moonlight for them to see silhouettes. And both of the younger men raise their crossbows towards the kneeling figure. And one of them says, "What happened? What's this? Do you see that? Your Holiness, do you see that?" And the old man stumbles a bit closer and says, "You, who are you? What happened here? We heard shouting. What happened here? Great robbery?"
I don't know what happened. I came here to take a look at my grandson's grave, but it seems some vagrants have destroyed them.
You came here in the middle of the night, woman? One of the younger men says, "Give me a deception check with disadvantage."
A what check?
A deception check with disadvantage. Because, yeah, it's in the middle of the night, like an old woman.
Wait. actually have things for that. Deception, right?
Yes, deception, yes. 14, not too bad, despite the disadvantage. But the priest seems suspicious. He's looking at you, and he puts his lantern back to one of the other men, and the other man starts rekindling it, and the priest comes forward and draws out a longsword, very slowly. He's a rather old fella, not super strong, and points it towards you, not super aggressively, but still. And he says, I don't believe your story. What kind of creature are you? You can't fool me. Reveal yourself. There is no place for evil to walk this sacred ground of Pelor Cemetery.
And I look up to him and, why would you bother an old woman in grief? Who are you to deny me access to the grave of my kin?
I am Father Jeremiah. I am the caretaker of this graveyard. And you say you're kin?
Kin.
The hero spirit here. Their king was all killed by the bandits. I know the story. What? Don't try to deceive me. Who are you?
While this is going on, she will get up slowly and get close enough that they can see me, but also close enough to...
The lantern now sputters and comes back to life as the one guy with the crossbow slowly passes it back to the priest, who reaches back, still looking at you like with one eye reaching back. And now,
and in the split second where he focuses both his eyes on taking the lantern, as is normal for a human being to do.
Yeah, he does so. Yeah.
When he looks back, all he sees is the grimace of a Harlequin mask, as my fae-present ancestry shoots out from my face, and they're completely taken aback. What's happening is I'm using my Fey presence to
fear effect, probably.
Yeah. It's either charmed or frightened, but as I feel that they're already onto me, I will frighten them.
That is a wisdom saving throw, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What's the DC on that?
15.
Okay. Okay, the priest passes, both of the other men fail.
Okay, for one round they're frightened, so they will try and walk away as fast as they can.
Yeah, this basically this gust of cold air goes outward of you with a bit of spur of a few water drops, and then the ground and the tombstones around start freezing with a thin layer of frost as the men, all three, can see their breaths now. The two with the crossbow, like, and start to turn around and start running away. The priest just shielding his eyes for a second and then looking back and says, by the light of Pelor, men, we need to fight this creature. And we are in initiative now. This was the surprise round, more or less. And we are starting with Ishmael. You're up first. So for those guys watching, just real quick, we're using a passive initiative. I will explain the house rules eventually, but yeah, this is passive initiative. Don't be surprised if we're not rolling. Okay, Ishmael, go ahead.
So he's just going to run up, and he'll probably lose his stealth because he's running in the open, but he's just going to try and punch this priest with a haymaker. And
all right.
Because he's not proficient, so that's just. Oh no, he doesn't even have the +3 though, but he got a 19.
Yeah, 19 is a hit. The priest does not see you coming, and you punch him in the face from the side.
All right.
Roll damage? Oh, actually, no, it's just 1 damage, isn't it?
Yeah. Or no, well, is it Fist of the Revenant? It's 4.
Oh, yeah, fist, yeah, you're right, sorry.
I just rolled a d6 here.
The necrotic damage, I believe, let me check that real quick. Isn't that only against your...
It might be.
Your
4 damage, then.
Targets, I think. So fist of direct, 1d6 plus strength modifier. Yeah, 2d6 are just against your targets. This priest is not your target. So 1d6 plus your strength modifier, whatever that is your damage. As the cold fist.
No strength mod.
So 4 damage. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the priest stumbles backwards. You hit him in the face, nearly dropping his longsword, still but barely holding on to it. Is that your turn?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ishmael, you're next.
Or Torak. Ishmael just went.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I meant to say Chris there. Sorry. My bad. And you're muted.
Chris there, noticing that the jib is up, will walk backwards, and while looking at the priest, explain, "It is best for you to just walk away." And she will cast a frostbolt on him, cast frostbite on him, in order to basically slow him down and make sure that he just stays where he's at.
And that will be another saving throw, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Constitution, I believe.
He actually passes with an 18, a natural 18. So he shakes off your supernatural cold that he shoots his way, and stands there. No servant of evil can touch me. Not while I have Pelos light with me. And he raises the lantern high. What's your dexterity, Torak?
Be 14.
Okay, so you are before the priest. So your turn now.
Okay, so I'm gonna come charging out from behind this, and
Yeah, he sort of turns towards you as you like
screaming, and I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna try and grab onto him and knock him down.
All right. So you grab. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll do a grapple.
Yeah.
So he's got to beat a 24.
Yeah. He can't beat that. So, and he takes 2 points of damage.
3 points.
Oh, 3 points.
Can't,
yeah, right. Yeah, 3 points. Yeah, sorry, yeah. 3
and
points.
then I'm gonna shove him down to the ground. So again, the 20.
He can't even beat that. Like he has a plus 0. He can't beat that. So you just grab him, you punch him in the stomach, and as he doubles over, you push him to the ground, basically, still holding on to him.
Put him in the grave.
I'm gonna use my armor spikes to do a bonus attack against him.
All right.
For 24 to hit, 10 damage.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You just push several of your spikes into his flesh through his chain shirt, and he's like ah, screaming out. He's not looking good. Now it is his turn. Now he will drop the longsword and the lantern, and he will hold on to Torak. He will grab Torak, and he will release holy light onto you.
Okay.
But you just shake it off. Nothing happens. And he goes wide-eyed. What? No! The two men are just running. Screaming and like, the dead have returned! And just running off like 60 feet, dash. And we are up at the top of the initiative again, and that will be Ishmael.
Ishmael will... he'll go ahead and pick up the longsword, I guess.
All right.
And, he'll swing at...
You are proficient with a longsword, I believe, as a rogue?
Correct. So that just means no proficiency, right?
Yeah, but you have advantage because he's on the ground.
Okay.
So you...
so still, I don't hit him. I can't even make contact.
No. Somehow he managed to squirm in Torak's grip, and you miss him completely. And Krister. Still muted.
Krister will walk up to this priest, putting his face almost like right above his face, and tell him the following. I think it would be prudent for you to leave this place. It seems that even your god's powers have left you and leave you defenseless. We do not seek to harm you in any way. We're just here to seek vengeance. And I'll try to intimidate him and make sure that he will just back off and go away.
Alright, give me an intimidation check. Oh. This priest is unwilling to bargain with creatures of darkness. He just
He got a
No!
30. He got a 20 as well.
Oh my god!
Plus 30. So he
No,
got a 30.
he doesn't have advantage though. He only has 17.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he 17 is still, it's not bad, but this priest, this Father Jeremiah is just, no, kill me if you must, but I will not forsake my duty to Pelor and this graveyard. And Torak, your turn now.
Torak says, "Happy to oblige," and just begins to wail on him with Fist of the Revenant ability.
All right.
And my armor spikes.
Yeah, you have advantage. So.
30 damage.
How do you kill him? He just did more health than he had in a single turn. Like more than 100% of his
basically, I've got a hold of him by like the shoulder, and I'm just hammering into his head, and I just hit him, and then for the last blow, I just bring my forehead down where there's some spikes up there and just crush his entire face into the ground.
Yeah, he just falls limp as you release him, completely destroyed by your spikes and your fists. Just torn open and bleeding all over the place.
And right next to the sort of puddle of remnants that used to be this priest's head, Ishmael will drive the sword into the dirt, and he'll say, "This tool is not a fit for me." And he'll just leave it there shaking in the dirt back and forth.
All right. You can still hear the screaming of the two men in the distance. You look up, and you can see on a hill overlooking the cemetery is what looks like to be a medium-sized village. It's mostly dark. It seems to be late at night, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But there is in a large house that seem. Yeah, I know they're only feared for 1 turn, but they're not coming back. This is normal, natural fear, not supernatural one. So you can see a few lights in one house, and those two men, you can see them screaming and running uphill towards that house. The house looks like some sort of tavern, from what you can tell. And they're still shouting, "The dead! The dead have come out of the ground! They killed the priest! They killed Father Jeremiah! Help! Help!" You can just hear them hollering in the distance.
Well, our introductions have gone swimmingly into our new life. What do you think we should try to make some distance and get ahead of this commotion, or what are your thoughts on the matter?
You see, Christer is already walking towards the inn, and when he looks over his shoulder and he says, "It's time to spread the fear in people," and he will just walk up to the tavern.
Okay. Do you follow?
Yeah, Ishmael will follow, darting from tree to tree and trying to stay hidden in the darkness.
Yeah.
Torak's not really concerned with hiding at all. He's just walking along the ground, and as you can see, as he's walking along, whenever he's walking on what would normally look like completely solid and substantial earth, you'll see little indented footprints following behind him. Totally unnatural.
And a few cracks here and there as you pass through. You approach the inn, and you can hear silence now, and then a few voices in the distance. And as you reach the inn, you can hear, "Please, you need to help us. Come, we don't have time. Who knows Who knows what they will do? Maybe more dead will come. We need to stop them now. And you recognize the voice of one of the guards that you scared away. And then another, you sure? They killed the father. And several men like asking questions. What are we supposed to do? We don't have proper weapons here. Well, anyway, let's see what's going on in the cemetery. These fools might just be drunk. And you can hear like scraping of chairs and such as people are getting up. And if Chris, there, you arrived first because you started going there first. You peer in through a window and you can see about maybe 10 men or so, farmers by the looks of them, getting up. Some of them look slightly drunk, and they look like they have been in the middle of some sort of celebration or something. There's a few small like celebratory equipment in the room, and they're grabbing like daggers and a few cudgels and like a short sword or two, one or two of them torches, and they are assembling in the middle of the room and starting to come towards the exit slowly but surely.
What kind of is there like a central fireplace that's lit or lanterns around?
There is 2 lanterns and there is a small fireplace, and there is a fire in the fireplace. There's a small pot on top of it. What do you want to do? You have about 15 to 20 seconds before they assemble themselves and
to the window and you see me. Does it look like there's anything flammable close to the fire?
Nothing particularly. There's a few cans, like there's a little bit of beer here and there and stuff like that, but nothing too extremely flammable.
At that point, you see Christer put his hands against the window, and you see the fire in the center just like flame up, and it's twice as bright as it used to be.
Yeah, the men all turn towards it and what the hell is happening? I told you that they're demons or undead or something, I don't know. And the people are just shouting at each other like, what's happening? What are we supposed to do? What is this? And like complete chaos. These are not soldiers. These are not trained men. They are farmers, obviously. There's instant chaos in there. And they don't seem to have any type of leader figure from what we can see to assert dominance or bring back order to this group.
And so while this is happening, if I have time, I will also extinguish the lanterns in the room.
You can.
So the only fire they still have is this fireplace in the center. So it feels to them like darkness is encroaching upon them.
Yeah, they start looking around and they sort of huddle together in the middle of the room now, like facing outward with weapons in shaking hands and backing away from the fire a little bit, but not willing to go too far away from the fire into the shadows of the corners of the room itself. And now they're all silent. They're just like a few are whispering prayers. Oh, great power, please help me, please help me. And you were just like, fuck, what's happening? Fuck. Yeah. So all 3 of you are now basically peering in through the windows. What do you want to do?
I'm just going to look at my other 2 companions and say, are we here to kill simple villagers, or are we here to kill those pigs that took my family?
Yes, you're right. We do have 3 definite targets of vengeance.
While you are thinking about that, you can see all your eyes start glowing this reddish light. And in your heads, you all of a sudden feel a presence. The presence of Korga Bloodfists somewhere to the east.
Looking away from the window and the men huddled around their lone flame within, shooting his eyes left and right around the building. Is there maybe a stable? Or could he listen for horses, the sound of horses?
There is indeed a small stable, yes, on the side of the house at the same.
Perhaps we should use this opportunity to relieve these men of their horses and make our way to our first target.
Torak's gonna walk away from the window, but as he does, you'll see the earth around the doorway just begin to pile up. So like a semicircle around the doorway of earth almost begins to excavate itself and just pile up in front of the door, trapping the men in there.
All right.
And then walks towards the stables.
Okay.
And Ishmael will dart off, and he'll, if uninhibited, he'll start saddling the horses.
As soon as you open the door, you can see what looks like to be maybe a 12 or 13-year-old boy staring up at you wide-eyed with a dagger in a trembling hand. He drops the dagger, turns around, and dashes back towards the depth of the stable. And you can see there's a small door here that seems to be connecting the stable to the main building. And he just opens the door and runs inside, screaming, "Ah! Monsters! Monsters!" Yeah.
Ishmael, right when he sees the boy, he starts covering his face, but it's too late. But he will pick up that dagger, and he'll slip it into his belt, or amidst his robes, his wispy robes.
And you look around, and you can see there's 2 mules and a single horse inside the stable. This clearly seems to be a village that's not extremely rich, so the farmers do not really have many horses. Even that one horse looks more like a draft horse than a riding horse. And all the animals shy away as soon as you enter. You can see their nostrils wide, and the wide eyes, and they're just like kicking. Like one of the horse actually turns around, and starts kicking the wall, trying to get away from you.
Maybe traveling by horse is not part of our destiny.
While you're looking at the horses, you can see a figure appearing in the doorway. One of the guards of the crossbow, looking at you, and he's like, "You move away! Leave us alone! Monsters! Just be gone! You disappear! Go back to the hell that spawned you!"
Torak looks at him and says, "What do you think we're trying to do, you fool?" And he walks past him and leaves the barn.
Yeah, the guy jumps backwards as you sort of walk past him. The crossbow goes off, hits the ceiling, stuck there. He's like, and he closes the door.
Torak begins walking towards the target, just making a straight line.
All right. And
Ishmael will shut the barn doors and follow.
Okay. And Krister.
Krister, while all this is going on, is leaving frost crystals on all the windows around the tavern. Like he's making a loop, and wherever the people are watching, frost starts to sprout and close and obscure their vision outwards. And when he's full circle, he will disguise himself as one of the people he saw in the tavern. And then he will walk into the barn and see if the horses react differently to him.
No, they're shying away nonetheless. You think it has probably more to do with your smell and such, not so much with the way you look. They can definitely sense that you're not a normal human being.
Okay. I will then look to see where my other compatriots are. If I see them walking off, I will start following them, and while I'm walking, I will start prestidigitationing my clothes, start to clean up myself, so to obscure some of the smell that I'm apparently emitting, in order to look and be perceived as human.
That's going to be a bit tricky with your bloated features and all that.
That's why you have disguise self. It's
I know.
Effective.
I know. Okay, and so you 3 figures, 2 tall ones and 1 short but extremely stocky one, 3 with blazing red eyes, march through the darkness, heading east. And that's it for tonight. we'll be picking this up next week. And yeah, hopefully you'll get to do some avenging. You're like the Avengers, sort of, in a way. All
I'm
right.
definitely team captain. Definitely.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Let me know what you thought of this session. That was a bit more narrating, less rolling dice, and a very short combat that was, well, over rather quickly. And you didn't even get to see all the cool abilities that our cool Revenants have. And they didn't get any weapons. Oh, I guess they have a dagger. So, and one of them doesn't really need weapons. So yeah, anyway, they are more or less equipped, and they are heading towards where they can feel the first target, the man or half-orc that has actually killed them with his bare hands. Waits for them, or, well, does not wait for them. And yeah, we will pick up next week. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll be with us. See ya.